Welcome back everyone to another episode of Pineleaf Previews, where today I will be previewing the new race that is being added to the Lord of the Rings Online, and that is the High Elf. We have the same class selection as with the regular elf, except now we have the captain added to it. So since that is the new one, that's what we'll create, a High Elf captain. And you have 5 potential places of origin: Beleriand, Imladris, Nargothrond, Gondolin, and Osirian. Now there's some question about the appropriateness of Osirian, but that's another matter. Now, here of course they give the usual thing for potential names and all the like, but I don't have time right now to come up with a nice lore appropriate name, so therefore for today I'll just say Pine Van Winkle. It's a tongue-in-cheek reference to the starter instance. Let us, I've heard some complaints that they don't look like the most attractive looking line. I don't know, he looks a bit angry to me, I don't know. Well, maybe that's just me. But anyways, there we have it, and let us create our character and head on in. And we head into our usual starter. Well, it's not a usual starter instance, so you can see that we're sitting in Daggerlad at the Black Gate, which isn't exactly the usual place to start. But I would like to set up my UI before I go anywhere else. So let me do that and I'll be back. I now have all that settled, and here I am in the starter instance, which is in Daggerlad, 2nd Age, 3434. This is during the last alliance, so you get to participate in this battle. Now I'm not going to go into the entire instance here. I will have a playthrough of it after release, but not prior to it. The idea here is that you're helping along with the last alliance, and you get injured, and at the end the injury is so bad that you wind up having to have a long recovery. Yes, and what I mean long recovery is that you get sent back to level 1, because right now we're about level 110, but only 2 skills? Yeah, that's a bit questionable, but yes, you have only your level 1 skills, but you're effectively level 110. But anyway, you're in the last alliance here, and you have the whole thing about starting the instance and all this stuff, listening to the king's talk, and you're here with some famous personages such as Isildur, Anarion, Elendil, Gilgalad, Glorfindel, Elrond. I know, you run to Elrond all the time. And I will presume that Círdan must have decided to grow his beard after this battle, because he is consistently shown as beardless in these last alliance instances. But of course, we're going to skip that and head all the way until we are back into the regular world in Celandine. We have arrived in Celandine, and it looks like every once in a while another high elf pops in from the intro. A good number of people are testing the new race, and we get our equipment here. Unfortunately, the displays of many of them, the graphics for all the equipment they give you at the start, is really not complete yet. I guess that's a good way of phrasing that. Actually, I want to keep that one. We add the armor in there. So you have all this stuff time worn. Of course, it's time worn because it's now about, what, 3,000 years after the last alliance, and that's why I used the name Pine Van Winkle, because apparently I've been asleep for those 3,000 years. So yeah. So let's have all this stuff on here, and I will get a great sword. Good. And as for rings, now one of them, apparently this is supposed to be a ring that's going to scale with you every once in a while. I think it's supposed to increase, starting out with 1 might, 1 vitality, 4 physical mastery, 4 critical rating with an item level of 1. We'll see if that actually does. And there are 2 other rings here, a +1 vitality ring and a +2 might ring. So let's, guess we'll just put that in there. So therefore, as for the ring that scales, that has an interesting little background note on it, in that a lesser elven ring forged as an essay in the craft of the smiths of Eregion before Sauron in the guise of Antheron, the gift lord, weaved his own corruption into their works. So therefore, this is a lesser elven ring, or a high elf, and I suppose you earned one of the lesser rings. We all, of course, know where all the 3 great elven rings went. And we also have this gift, Elrond's gift thing, which is our little thing coming at level 5. And I think the rest of the ones after that probably are the normal ones. That's just how they get us into have there. So you get the outfitting others quest as usual. And then, of course, the other things you get at the start. Unfortunately, they do not give you a milestone. Now, I'm hoping that will be corrected in the next build. I did bug it, because if I click on... I know, watch it work this time, right? Maybe it was just a warden thing? Nope. You don't have any milestone skills yet. Yes, I should have one, but that seems to be something that's not quite working right. Now, this is how we are at the beginning, and it looks like we got ourselves, of course, the usual starting captain items. We're devastating blue here, and now I have more attacks than one. That starting instance was painful, having only 1 skill. It was a lot easier with the warden when I did a quick test spin of that earlier. Because with the warden, at least you had the situation that you had your 3 builders, so you could have some variety in here. But with the captain, 1 skill plus a shout, 1 skill plus the shout. And unfortunately, trying to do that long instance with all the combat that's in it with only 1 skill is pretty tricky. So maybe they'll find some way to adjust that one way or the other. Perhaps give you some skills that you have in session plays and that they disappear when you wake up, because that got lost when you got knocked down from 110 down to level 1. I suppose that's a possibility. But that said, let me do a few quests out here and see what happens when I finally get to a level where I unlock one of the enmities, because that would be really nice, is to unlock one of the racial deeds. I'm not ready for one of those enmity deeds yet, but I did run into the mithril trader,
Swilite Melon,
who does have a milestone skill, and since I do have enough mithril coins, and this is just a test server anyway, so it's not like I'm in desperate need to save those, but I still want that to be fixed before we go to live. Alright, there we go. Now I have a milestone skill, so I could take care of that. So at least I won't have that dreadful inconvenience. There we go. 1 milestone skill. But now it is time for me to do the questing around here, get myself leveled up to, I think 13 is probably when I'll get my first enmity one. And then I could start trying to earn some racial traits and see what they're like. I am now about level 14, and this is generally near the level where you start to get the racial deeds unlocked, and I doubt there's going to be an enmity of the cave claws. But spiders and goblins are two potential suspects, and I haven't killed any since reaching the appropriate level. Well, I got Spider Slayer, of course. But no enmity of the spiders, it looks like. And so that one looks out. And highly unlikely it's going to be enmity of the bats. But what I'm looking for are goblins, because of course goblins are a pretty good candidate for that. In fact, there's a goblin right there, but I think that's an elite. I am level 14, so maybe I should be able to make that. Yeah, the extra levels does help in this case. Right? And oh, they help, but it doesn't make me immune to damage, that's for sure. Alright, there you go. Defeated goblins. Okay, good. But no enmity of the goblins. So what am I supposed to be slaying? Beats me. I have just reached level 19, and I did not receive any enmity slayer deeds yet, but when I hit 19 I received Wrath of the Firstborn, increased group damage, plus 5% damage to anyone in the fellowship within 15 meters, duration 10 seconds. And this says requires a trait to be done. So that sounds like a racial trait here. Yeah, Wrath of the Firstborn. So that one, all I did was reach level 19. So perhaps there aren't any racial slayer deeds. Maybe it's just by leveling. So if that were the case, you would think that the items would unlock faster than they unlock the slots, because I've got one slot opened up and that's done by level, but only one of these is open. So what are the others, just out of curiosity? We have Grace of the Firstborn, plus 10% out of combat run speed. Well, that's not bad. Then we have Those Who Remain. You resist a call to the west knowing that there is still work to be done, so plus 4 will. Then we have Blade Dancer, plus 2.5% one-handed and plus 2.5% two-handed swords. Then we have Virtuous High Elf. Not sure how that's going to be done. Maybe it is through... I think the Bjornies got that when doing one of their potential quests that are related to them. Maybe it was a class quest or something like that, since their class and their race are tied together. Of course, that isn't the case here. But here we go. So we have a plus to these. I know in the others it's done through reputation, so we'll have to see what we have there. Enmity of Darkness, plus 5% light type damage. That could be useful sometimes for a captain. Travel to Karis Galathon. I suspect that we might get that when we hit level 60 or something like that. I strongly doubt they're going to give us that one before then if it is based on level. And it sounds like a rat has decided that it doesn't like what I'm talking about. Then we have Grace of Valinor. You may revive a fellow from defeat in combat, so therefore a res. That's right, a racial based res instead of one. Now, might not help with a captain all that much, since captains already get a res. And then Glory of the First Age, which is a single target stun. 30 minutes cooldown though on the res, so it doesn't happen all that often, but maybe occasionally could come in handy. And I might as well slot the one virtues that I have. Oh, will you quit that? Hey, I am busy doing a video. You can wait and attack me later. Alright, where was I? Ah, yes, I wanted to put that in. There you go. So now we got a couple of virtues in there, and we're in here, and we continue on. So therefore, my current hypothesis is that it will unlock based on my current level, and it's not related to Slayer Deeds. And maybe if I find out more information, I will continue this, but for now, let me go on trying to level and see what else I can learn about this character race. I am now at level 20 and have killed my first orc, and that finally answers the question, enmity of the orcs. So therefore, you realize you came just in time for a demonstration of orc slaying techniques. Yes, where was I? Oh yes, enmity of the orcs, kill 50 orcs. So yes, we do have a standard orc slaying deed that comes in. I presume it kicked in at level 13, but I don't know where you reach orcs at level 13, so therefore here's the first one that I've got, and that gives a Grace of the Firstborn, which is the out of combat running speed. So therefore, yes, there are Slayer deeds. There's at least one set of them, and that is for orcs. And I will presume that there are 2 others, but what they are, I do not know yet. I have reached level 20 and just finished the skirmish tutorial, and I thought it was a good time to check in with this ring. Here's the ring Miletia, or Miletia, whichever one it is. It's a +3 might ring, a +2 vitality, so it has increased since the last time I checked on the ring. So yes, it does get more powerful as we level up. And I checked in the skirmish camp that the rings that are currently available are +5 for single attributes. So if you're focusing on one attribute only, then the ring in the skirmish camp might be a little bit better on that one focused area. But +3 might, +2 vitality is, I would say, reasonable for a captain, especially when you throw on top of it +16 physical mastery and +16 critical rating. So therefore, I would say that this is a pretty decent ring to have, and is one I guess you might be using for a bit of time, because it seems to be growing with you. Now, how long it stays there, I don't know, but so far it seems like a pretty decent one, at least through the low levels. As for additional enmities, I still haven't found any more of those. I just have the orcs so far. We are at 49 of 50 orcs, so let's see if we can get one more orc to finish up this deed and see if a new one unlocks. But I'm only at level 23. Completed enmity of the orcs. Nope. Probably a few more levels before I could get enmity of the orcs too. But I have completed the first one, so I get my my speed buff. Oh, that's nice to have. Yes, so let us trait that one right away so that I can get through here a little bit faster. Assuming I can put it in properly. There you go. But I still don't know what the other 2 race enmities are. I have just reached level 25 and just received my second level-based racial trait, which is Grace of Valinor. This is a revival skill, which might not be too handy for a captain, because I've already got 2 revival skills with better cooldowns. But it could be handy if you are a warden or champion, for example. Now this means that so far I have seen 2 that are based on level, and I expect that at least the port to Lothlorien would also be that way. But of course, I have seen at least one that's based on a Slayer deed, so I'm expecting at least 2 more based on Slayer deeds. What the rest will be, I don't know. Maybe there will be a Slayer deed that will be unlocked at level 29, since the other races do have a target that is unlocked at that level. Or perhaps it may be that the rest are going to be by level. I don't know that, and I'm probably not going to find that out during beta, because I think this is a good stopping point for my little experiment here. I got a pretty good idea on how the High Elf operates. And of course, since most of the differences in various characters are based on class rather than race, there aren't too many things except for a couple of tweaks here and there on some things that you have. And of course, we have our really nice scaling ring here, which is the most unique thing I've seen about this character so far. That, of course, the potential for a extra run boost if you don't have one of those naturally, which you notice is less useful for a warden, but the sport here is more useful for a warden, so therefore there is a bit of trade-off depending on what class you are playing. But I think that is it for this little preview, and when we return next time, we will see if there are any other interesting things that are added in the upcoming weeks. Until next time, this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.